Luffy's Pirate Tip 813. Ah, bees, run!
We've got 7 crew members here to have an adventure. Cross the Grand Line with you.
Woohoo!
We'll cross the Grand Line and have a grand time as we make our dreams come true.
Yeah, yeah.
We'll ride the knock-up stream to achieve our dreams. Together we watch season 3.
Yeah! Ba-da-ba-bow, start the show. Hello, fellow adventurers of the Grand Line, and welcome to episode 52 of King of the What Now. We are an anime podcast that discusses One Piece.
Which is an anime.
Yeah, I got the word anime and podcast mixed up, so I almost said we're an anime that discusses the One Piece podcast, which is a different
We could be. That'd be so meta.
Is there an anime about podcasting yet?
Give it time.
That's how you know the podcasting bubble is truly burst.
And folks, today we have an extra special long episode due to the amount of content that we ingested and the amount of information in those episodes. So I'm going to try to cut the chit-chat and get straight to the point. I'm Joel. I'm your captain. We forgot to organize what we were going to be. I'm a bird that can only point to the secret 5th direction.
It's really funny. You push his head in some other direction and he gets all... and then he just pops it right back.
Well, and the longer you force my head into the wrong direction, the louder I scream, until eventually my head will explode. It's a medical condition.
If we push your head one way, does your body slowly, twist the other way and protest?
Yes, exactly. And we also have...
Oh, yeah. I forgot I was next. I'm Kurt.
I thought you were going to say you forgot you were here. Like, you have to be.
I'm the ghost on the podcast. That's my thing.
I'm Curtis. I am the co-host. And we are the Straw Hat Pirates. We are a collective hive mind of pirate crew members.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
They are legion.
The hat is actually connected to the Ethernet, and then once someone joins the crew, they get uploaded. And who are you, mysterious ghost?
Hello, I'm Kat. I'm the ghost on the podcast, and I am a mysterious figure who is employed by the world government but likes to mess with them. I like pink fluffy boas and screwing with people.
And business is great. Okay, so as I said just a second ago, we watched a lot of episodes this time. We had trouble during episode 51 of the podcast to find the second or third One Piece special, depending on which list you're going off of. But A Father's Huge, Huge Dream. That second huge is in all capital letters. We eventually found it. I'm not going to say that we found it through the most legal of methods, but it wasn't on Crunchyroll, it wasn't on Hulu, it wasn't on... so we had to resort to...
Joel, would you say that we were in keeping with the series that we were watching?
Absolutely.
And the means that we found this?
Yeah, we watched it on the ocean,
yes,
where international law does not apply. So we watched A Father's Huge, Huge Dream, and then we watched the last 5 episodes of the Jaya arc. So the last one ended with them being attacked by one of the monkeys, I think Shoujo, who was using his hypersonic vocal cords, and then this one ended with them riding the knock-up stream. And every time we say that, it's just going to make me giggle just a little tiny bit. I can't help it. As always, we look to Curtis for a succinct summary of all of this. Is a lot of information. We got to the 4th episode 151, and I went, there's no way we're going to be able to summarize this succinctly.
Yeah, so I'm going to stick to my script here. Okay, so let's start with the special. Here's what the special about. A little girl's dad finds a treasure and tattoos a map of it onto her back,
immediately making her a target.
And then he dies. Then the little girl's kidnapped by one of her father's ex-coworkers. Then the Straw Hats come and kick that coworker's ass. Together they find the treasure, which is a giant pearl inside a giant oyster disguised as an island.
Yes.
And that is the special.
Hang on, really quick. Just imagine, I know we're watching an anime about pirates and it's very exciting, but imagine if you told the synopsis of that to someone who didn't know we were talking about anime. The father's co-worker, the accountant, shows up. I need the map to the treasure.
There's a reason I chose that wording.
Yes.
That was a really good special. We'll talk about it more.
Yes.
Okay. And then into the end of Jaya. So, the Straw Hats meet Cricket, who is a descendant of Noland the Liar. we learn about Nolan the Liar, who died for lying about an island of gold that sunk to the bottom of the sea. We also find out that Nolan the Liar in his logbook noted that there was evidence of Sky Island. Cricket and his monkey friends decide that they're going to help the Straw Hats get to Sky Island, and Cricket explains how they can get there using something called the knock-up stream, and then those like foreboding clouds that we saw earlier.
Yes.
Then they decide, okay, let's party and celebrate by getting drunk all evening before oh crap. We need a special bird so that we can actually get to the knock-up string. You guys need to go out into the middle of the night in the forest right now and find this bird.
I maintain that they only remember the bird because they got drunk enough. I think partying was the answer to all of life's problems.
Yep, as it always is. And then, so they spend an episode to episode and a half trying to get a hold of one of these birds before finally Robin does it in like 5 seconds. So they get the bird, and they go back. Meanwhile, Bellamy and his crew showed up, and they beat up Cricket, and they take his gold. This pisses Luffy off. Luffy then goes and kicks Bellamy's ass, and he takes him out in one punch, which is amazing. Great fight scene. You should watch it.
And we're not going to make a reference to anything that might involve the words one and punch.
No, there's... Yeah, never mind.
He went to a party, and there was a bowl full of punch, but then secretly there was a little tiny dragon in it, and they went, ugh. How to Train Your Dragon 3 is now in theaters.
Yeah, and unfortunately...
DreamWorks, please sponsor us.
Okay, so then he brings the gold back, and he gives it to... Cricket. Oh, and also somewhere in here, there's a lot of world building that we'll talk about. There's all this stuff is happening, and then we cut. World building, cut back to the Straw Hats. Actually,
the world building happens directly after he delivers the gold back, and that's when we start getting a bunch of... I'm happy to do a succinct summary of that after you've finished the main storyline.
So now the Straw Hats have their boat. It's been repaired by Cricket's monkey friends.
The Sariyama Alliance.
And they added wings to the Going Merry and everything.
What's it called? The cockcomb on top of the... Yeah,
like the rooster. I'm
whatever. Telling you, it's called the cockcomb, and the Going Merry is now a chicken confirmed.
Yes. So now the Straw Hats go to the place where the knock-up stream is, and suddenly they're being chased by the Blackbeard pirates, not the black-haired pirates, the Blackbeard pirates. And yes, it's the one from real life. It's not the anime version. It's like a real life, the real life Blackbeard is coming after them.
Absolutely.
It's very interesting. But then the knock-up stream starts, and it destroys Blackbeard's ship because it's a janky pile of logs. And the Straw Hats, though, they manage to stay on there thanks to their new reinforced ship, and they figure out they can fly using this current of air that's going along with the water, and they fly up into the sky, and that's where it ends.
Yeah, we don't get any kind of confirmation as to what's happened next, and that is honestly one of the most perfect to be continued in One Piece, and I'm just glad that that's exactly where it ended.
I think that's like the end of the series. I think this is them dying. They're going up to heaven now. They died during that.
Yep, fantastic. All right, so I'm going to circle back real quickly to all of that world building. To you, it was just a bunch of names and concepts being thrown at you. To me, it was like, oh, this is where they start setting all that other stuff up. So basically what you have is you get confirmation that the man we referred to as Pirate Santa in the last episode of the podcast is actually Blackbeard. I guess he's also known as Blackbeard, and his real name, I don't know if you caught this, is Marshal D. Teach. We find out that many of the other strange people we've seen in Mocktown, the guy with a gun who is shooting birds, the old sick guy with the horse giving out exploding apples, and the Mexican luchador fighter guy are all members of his crew. We meet a fifth member of his crew, Lafitte, the demon sheriff, who's a creepy mime guy. He's awesome. We meet two other members of the Warlords of the Sea. We meet Don Quixote da Flamingo, and we meet Bartholomew Kuma. I said that name kind of weird. You know who I'm talking about. Kuma. We meet 5 Elder Stars, who are the highest authority in all of the Marines, higher than anyone else. We meet the Fleet Admiral, who's the highest ranking Navy officer, Sengoku. We meet the highest ranking female officer in all of the Marines. Suru, the Great Tactician, is her epithet. We see Dracule Mihawk again. We get Whitebeard's first appearance on screen, and he's a badass. And we get the return of Shanks. And basically what's going on, Shanks knows something about Blackbeard. I'm comfortable spoiling that small detail. And he's trying to get in contact with Whitebeard. Whitebeard is such a big, impressive, powerful pirate, and Shanks is so well known that as soon as the Marines are like, these two might be talking, they lose their goddamn minds. They're like, how do we stop these two people from talking? Because if they start talking, that's the end. If they start going steady, we will never be able to take Whitebeard to prom, and we want him to go to prom. He would look so good in a suit. And then Mihawk is also there, and he's there to basically say, I'm still watching Zoro's progress. I'm so proud of him and my other son, Luffy, for making up the ranks and getting these high bounties. By the way, I'm adopting these two as my children. Don't you dare touch them. And that's basically it. This is a lot of setup, and spoiler alert, we're not going to get any conclusion to this until the end of the saga. Oda is now going to start a pattern where every once in a while, in between arcs, in between islands, in between sagas, you will get little tiny tidbits, and it's all accumulating in the Avengers-style crossover event.
So One Piece is just Kingdom Hearts.
Yeah, One Piece is Kingdom Hearts and Infinity Wars and the comic books, except in comic books, when a character dies, they can come back at any time. In One Piece, if a character dies, they never died in the first place. It's different. One of them involves actual death, one only involves the perception of death.
I'm actually going to say that slightly differently. In comic books, a character dies and can come back at any time. In One Piece, a character dies, and maybe they were never dead, or maybe they can come back at any time, unless they're a mom. Moms are dead.
If you're killed in flashback line, you're killed in real life. But if you're killed in the present timeline, you're fine. Catherine, can you think of a proper Kingdom Hearts metaphor to use since you're going to bring one of those in every episode?
Every episode until I die. Yeah, you know, in One Piece, if you die, you really don't die. Your heart is just taken from you.
Okay.
And we don't see the off-screen reuniting of the Nobody and the Heartless.
Okay,
that were
thank you.
formed.
Thank you so much for all of that information. I don't have in front of me the release dates of the bonus episode and this episode. It's quite possible that we've released our fifth bonus episode, which is Kingdom Hearts themed, to go along with the fact that we've been playing nonstop for a while. Okay, we have now discussed these episodes. I want everyone to tell me how you felt about them.
Can we start with the special and then just get out of the way and then we can jump into Jaya?
Yeah, let's create a special space-time continuum where we only talk about that one special and then we'll go back to the main anime series after we're done.
The special was the best non-canon thing that I've seen from this so far. I
100% agree. It was enjoyable to watch.
Yeah, they were good. Like the characters, the non-canon characters in it were good, were more fleshed out. The plot made more sense. It didn't rely on like straight up like just, well, I guess it's kind of Deus Ex Machina at the end, but it's not like, I don't know. It's not just like a rehash of fights we've seen before, right? Like the villain has an interesting power and that sets them up in like an interesting circumstance that was like, how do we get out of this sort of thing? And they get out of it in a creative manner. It's very like, it was well put together.
Yeah, if you're only going to watch One Piece special, I would recommend A Father's Huge, Huge Dream, and not just because the title is funny.
Yes. If we're talking non-canon material, I don't know if they technically count. The later movies are very, very good. They feel like real movies that were released in theaters because that's what they were. But the movies we've seen so far are early One Piece days where they don't have quite the budget and they don't have quite the fleshed out thing. I legitimately was like, okay, this bad guy's obviously not a real threat. I think his name is Bion. He's not a real threat, but he's threatening enough that he's not just a joke. He is more than a Wapple or a Buggy. He's a little closer to Crocodile.
More than a Wapple, less than a Crocodile is a great scale for villainous.
That's also the name of my album that's going to be released next week. All right, folks, a quick peek behind the scenes. Sometimes we edit these or record these episodes kind of in little chunks. For this current chunk, the ghost of the podcast has left to return to... You remember those ghostly laws she passed? Well, it turns out there's some people who are trying to reform them, or repeal them, and she has to give an impassioned speech before her ghost congress to explain the necessity of basic ghost healthcare for the ghost children.
And ghouls.
Yeah, absolutely.
She really stands up for the ghoul minority community.
Yeah, absolutely. She's their champion. So, your very brief synopsis, my very brief synopsis, we loved the special, Father's Huge Dream.
It also ends with a all-crew combo attack.
Yes.
Where they just all do one attack at the same time. And then, there's this part, so they send the enemy flying, and then after he's, under the sky, Robin finishes her attack. I don't remember what it's called.
Clutch.
And you hear... It's like, whoa!
Yeah. We really need to discuss... That's Robin's signature finishing move. It's called Clutch, and she basically bends people over backwards, and there's a bone snapping sound, and I'm unclear if she kills people. I'm pretty sure Oda has come out and said the Straw Hats don't kill people, but you clearly hear the bone snapping sound, and you can clearly see Zoro, cutting people, so I think that those two kill, and the rest of them don't.
I think what it is every time she uses that move, she also takes a bite of celery.
Oh, okay,
at the same time. It's you can't really see it, but she's holding it with a little tiny hand that comes out of the side of her mouth.
What if it's actually, she doesn't kill them, she just leaves them in a state of physical, she paralyzes them, and so they can never walk again, but they're not technically dead. They still have a life to live, and so that's the distinction. I really liked the team combo attack. I was going to say, that's not how combo attacks work in One Piece, but we haven't actually really gotten to the parts where that becomes a thing. Usually it's not just them all calling out the name of their attacks at the same time, but it was nice. I liked it.
Yeah, I mean, we've seen a couple where there was a chain where they kind of piled theirs on top of each other, and then rather than it happening simultaneously, it was a chain of names.
Yes.
So...
I really liked it. Luffy briefly gets mind controlled, which is interesting, and Robin tries to use Clutch on him, and his body bends over backwards, and he goes, it's not going to work because I'm made out of rubber, and she kind of just looks at the camera and goes, I surrender, just immediately, and that might be my favorite Robin thing in the history of One Piece, including stuff that you haven't seen yet. How did you like the fact that in the end, the two the two adult side characters and then the three children characters became a family?
I thought that was interesting. I mean, it does fit with the ongoing theme of non-related families, right? Our chosen families. It's a little weird because there are just two pirates who at one point were part of the crew that had kidnapped these kids.
Yep.
And the kids convinced them to take the kids away, not for the kids' safety, but because the pirates were greedy and wanted to get the whole treasure to themselves.
Yes.
And then they held them on an island for a month in the middle of nowhere, living a very savage lifestyle. And basically Stockholm Syndrome settled in, and now they're a family.
I will say that there are things about this movie, about this special, that kind of point to the fact that it's filler. Luffy at the very beginning of the movie is very sleepy, and to the point of being almost incompetent. And it turns out that Sanji just drugged him to try to calm him down like he's some overactive child. And Luffy is, to be clear, an overactive child, but Sanji and canon would never get fed up with that. The Straw Hat crew very much know who their captain is, and kind of, not necessarily facilitate, but they don't argue when he gets kind of an idea in his head, and I feel that the beginning of this movie kind of set up a different dichotomy. And they didn't flesh out these two characters. Hang on, I actually wrote down their names. Marcus and Bonnie. Marcus is the guy that we thought looked a bit like Usopp, and then Bonnie was the lady. If the special had been an hour and 10 minutes instead of 45 minutes, I think you could have set them up as some kind of they joined the pirate crew, but then their captain kind of became more evil or greedy as time went on, and they were looking for a way to escape, and maybe that's why they wanted the treasure so they could finance, being away from him. As it was, we didn't really get that, and you have to fill in the blanks. I liked it, but it was a little rushed, like you said. It's kind of when you think about it, oh yeah, we didn't have any indication that they were good people until suddenly they were.
Yeah, it's I don't know, it's kind of like rush logic. I would love to talk about it more, but there's a lot in the other 5 episodes. We should probably move on to them if we want to get to everything.
Yes, let me really quickly say one thing. I don't know if I like this or I dislike this. I think I've made it clear that some of the stuff in One Piece with the female characters makes me a little uncomfortable. I wish that they were a little bit more... I wish the female characters weren't the damsel in distress. I wish there wasn't so much fan service. I wish that the women weren't given such weird anime-only body styles. The men get anime body styles, but they're just really tall. Women get weird body figures. So there's a scene that I think I like, but I think also raises the red flags when it first starts. The music guy, Bayan, he can control people with music. He can make them stop fighting, but he can also apparently sort of mind control them. And he wants this girl her name is Amanda, and I think she's like 14. She's not an adult yet, but she's not like super young either. He wants her to reveal the location of the treasure map, and he starts playing the music, and she starts lifting her shirt, and I started being like, this is really creepy danger territory. And it turns out the map was on her back, which makes sense. That's a somewhat secure place to put it. Make sure that you're not going to lose it in the wash or something. It also makes Bayan a more sinister villain because it's like, oh, he's taking advantage of this young girl. And so it's like, oh, he's creepy and he's bad. At the same time, I don't want to watch an anime where a female character is slowly revealing any part of her body, even if it's just the back. And so I didn't like the scene at first. I think I can defend it, but I still think there were other ways they could have done it.
Yeah. Also, it doesn't really make sense to put it on your back where you can't find it.
Yeah.
Like, how is the map useful to you at that point?
That's also true. The dad was dying, and he told her something important, but instead of entrusting her to remember, he also apparently had time to give her a tattoo.
Yeah.
In a place where she couldn't...
put it on your forearm and then just wear a long sleeve.
Perfect.
Because then you can look at it whenever you want to.
Yeah.
It's a much more convenient and it's less problematic later on.
Yes. But the plot holes aside, the young characters I liked them. They didn't wear on me as some of the younger children in the earlier specials we've seen have done. I like the side characters. They're actually relevant. I love the combo attack. I love that the bad guy wasn't just some really strong beefcake, and he wasn't just some weirdo who had some unusual power. It was a little bit of a mix of both. And now we're going to exit this space-time continuum bubble and return to the main series of One Piece. Where would you like to start, Curtis, with all of this stuff that's going on?
Oh, there's so much stuff. Let's start off...
I would say let's save the world-building, big-picture stuff to the very end. So we could talk about Bellamy, or the Sariyama Alliance, or the Southbird, or
Let's talk about... let's do Southbird first, and then Sariyama Alliance. And we'll go from there. I guess we'll start off with Cricket, right? So they met Cricket. His name is Nolan Cricket, or Cricket Nolan, depending on which order you want to choose. He's a descendant of someone from a fairy tale from the North Blue, Nolan the Liar.
And we're told, because apparently most of Bellamy's crew is from the North Blue, if you come from the North Blue, you have heard the story. It's guaranteed. If you come from any other place, probably not. But it's a famous fairy tale.
Yeah, because we also get the factoid that Sanji is from the North Blue, and he has also heard of Nolan the Liar.
Oh, really quick. It's not Nolan Cricket, it's Mont Blanc Cricket. I'm sorry. Mont Blanc is the family name.
Okay. Oh, and then it was Mont Blanc Nolan.
Yes.
Okay. That makes more sense. So Nolan the Liar was a guy who had went on an adventure, and he came back and was telling everybody about it, and he was basically saying, I found this city of gold, but you can't get to it because it sunk to the bottom of the ocean. Mm-hmm. And no one would believe him. And apparently they decided that him telling the story was a crime. And so they decided to kill him. Mm-hmm. And even up until his death, he was still telling stories about this place.
Absolutely.
Now his descendants have all been fed up with this family legacy. Mm-hmm. And so a bunch of them have set sail to try to disprove it. All of them died in the process, or disappeared. Never seen from again. So I don't know I guess they didn't explicitly die, but Cricket didn't leave to do that. He left to be a pirate and just he stumbled into it. He's the only one that made it to the island.
And he's the only one who didn't want to make it to, well, not to the Lost Island of Gold, but he went to Mocktown where the story originated. He's like, oh, I'm here.
Yeah. So then he decides he's going to stay. So he gets left there by his pirate crew. And then he's been like spent the last 10 years just trying to find evidence. And he's found some. He found these gold trinkets and that match some of the stories that Nolan told. Mm-hmm. So, I mean, that's some evidence. So initially when Luffy and the crew show up to his house, he thinks they're there to steal from him. Mm-hmm.
Because everyone mocks him and he doesn't really have friends other than the two monkey-looking dudes.
Yeah. And when he finds out that they're there to, like, because they want to get to Sky Island, he's a lot nicer to them. Mm-hmm. So it's like an interesting dynamic because you have Nolan, or not Nolan, I'm sorry, Nolan, this guy's dead. You have Cricket, and then the two monkeys that we fought, or that the Straw Hats fought earlier, are his friends. So it's like they show back up and I don't know, they're kind of communing and trying to figure out how to help the Straw Hats.
Yeah, these episodes are fascinating to me. A lot of the filler arcs have an abbreviated version of the tropes that you see throughout One Piece. There will be a character who doesn't believe in pirates or dreams or adventure or whatever, and then they'll get turned around. There's someone who's looking for something, and maybe it exists, maybe it doesn't. Sometimes I feel as though the abridged version of those tropes make them worse. They make them less enjoyable, and the reason that the main canon of One Piece works is because you have more time to flesh out these details. We were only with Cricket for 5 episodes. Really 4, because there was a lot of stuff with the world government that had nothing to do with him. And it was the most compelling, like, friendship story I think we've had for a while. And it's just, I was really lonely. People didn't believe in my dreams. These two showed up and sort of became my friends whether I wanted them to or not. And now they're kind of my reason for living. And it's beautiful. Mm-hmm. Wait, hang on. Thinking of beautiful friendships, I sense something in the air. We have to perform the ritual. Baba baba baba. Baba baba baba. Baba baba baba. Speak, apparition.
Yes, hello, I'm back.
Hello,
ghostly
and
duties.
So.
Did you fight back the repeal of your law helping the ghoul community?
I did. Gosh darn those law repealers.
Remember, support your local Ghouls for Schools bill.
or Schools for Ghouls.
There you go, either way.
Both, really. We need to follow an inclusive model of education that allows ghoul children to go to school alongside their non-ghoul companions.
Yes. There's 2 other really quick notes about the Cricket and the Nolan stuff.
I thought you were going to talk more about ghouls.
I'm glad we're going back.
Welcome to King of the What Now, a podcast where we discuss ghouls and other things that maybe don't exist. Things that Bellamy would not approve of because you can't see them with your own 2 eyes. 2 really quick notes. Every time they mention Nolan the liar, and the fact that his death was tragic and that no one believed him, but also just the fact that he was a known liar, everyone always looked at Usopp and he goes, guys, it's not me. Why do you keep looking at me like this? Secondly, Cricket, he is a beefcake. He's a strong, physically able, tall boy.
You know who he reminds me of?
Who's that?
Armstrong.
Oh, yeah, from Full Metal Alchemist.
Yes.
Always.
So if you've ever seen Full Metal Alchemist, he's kind of like Armstrong, but less flashy.
Also, Armstrong loved his family.
Yeah, there you go. So I guess continuing on with the Cricket thing, I mentioned this in the summary. They had to go collect this bird. I know there's not much I want to talk about other than the fact that they do spend a long time trying to catch it. And then Robin finally sees one of them and uses her power to grab it with a bunch of hands. She's like, I just needed to see one.
Be honest, Joel. How much of that episode was filler? Like, just to take up time in the anime?
I don't know explicitly. I consult the wiki for what episodes are filler and what aren't. If an episode is fully filler, if while they were looking for the bird, Luffy fell into the home of the pancake gnomes and he could only escape by baking the perfect pancake, I'd be like, that's filler. But in terms of how long it took them to find the birds in the manga, I don't know. I love the Southbird episodes. I didn't like those when I was going through the series the first time because there's not a lot of punching and there's not a lot of interesting stuff. But you just get a moment to breathe with the characters. You get Robin telling Zoro, you're lost again, aren't you? And his face flashes with like a look of panic. He's like, no, I'm not. He goes, watch out for the pitfall. And then he falls in the pitfall. You're like, yeah, that's perfect Robin and Zoro right there. You find out that Sanji doesn't like bugs, and Usopp's just like, oh, it's a baby tarantula. How cute. Perfect dichotomy.
Do you mind if I move us on to the Bellamy fight?
No.
Okay.
That's the highlight.
Yeah.
Oh, I rematerialized just in time. Go for it, Curtis.
There might be a reason that I talked about the other stuff first. Okay. So, first time that Luffy and Zoro fought Bellamy, right?
Mm-hmm.
They just let themselves get their sheep bitten out of them.
That works. Go on.
Just lots of anyways, so they didn't fight back because there was no reason to fight, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like Zoro even mentions this to Nami later, that choosing not to fight when there is no reason to is not losing. It is a form of winning. Which is like has an interesting thing to do with like honor and that whole like
like the pride thing and
what's it, Bushido or
Bushido is the word.
I know nothing about Bushido. I'm making a lot of assumptions about it. We'll see how accurate they are.
Also, I just want to point out that once again, Nami doesn't quite get something that clicks with what I would say the boys of the crew, which is just a callback to Little Garden in every way.
But anyway, so that happened. But we all know that if you're just using the bounties as a power scale, that Bellamy has a bounty of 55 million.
Yes.
Zoro has one of 60 million, and Luffy has one of 100 million. So if that's like a scale of their abilities to each other, both of them are stronger than him.
Absolutely.
And so, but now Luffy has someone to fight for, right? He's not standing. He wouldn't just be fighting just to like for his own pride.
Mm-hmm.
He's now fighting because somebody came and stomped on the dreams of one of his friends and stole his treasure.
Absolutely.
It's like the two things that set Luffy off. You did both of them.
The only thing that they could have done worse is if they had also taken Luffy's hat. Like, if they had done that, it's just like, okay, now you're dead.
So he goes over and he's like, he calls him out, right? And it's this great setup because the new bounty posters just arrive, and with the new numbers, and the guy's like, the first guy who picks it up is like, I must have had too much to drink. This guy was puny. How does he have a bounty this high? So he runs and tells everyone, we're in trouble. These guys have huge bounties. They're going to come back and kick our ass. And then Luffy shows up and calls Bellamy out. And Bellamy's like dismissing all of this. He's like, oh, he made those numbers up. That's fake.
Mm-hmm.
And Bellamy's like just so arrogant and so convinced of himself that he's like going on. And he comes out and he's tries to punch Luffy a couple times, and Luffy dodges, and he hits him a couple times.
Also, really, really quick note, we also found out that he is made of springs. He's a springy boy.
Yeah, he has the spring fruit. So he's bouncing around. And they're he thinks he's toying with Luffy. Really, it's Luffy toying with him the whole time.
Master of psychological manipulation.
Yeah. So he's standing on like the street, right?
Mm-hmm.
It's very Old West style. And Luffy is standing on the street. Bellamy starts bouncing around, kind of like Kuro when he does his like super fast.
The cat out of the bag.
Yeah, it was the cat out of the bag. Was that not Pussyfoot?
There's like the Pussyfoot technique, and then there's like the cat out of the back attack. Or
yeah,
something.
that was it. So he's like bouncing around. He's so fast you can't even see him anymore. And Luffy's standing here, like not moving. And
the whole time he's talking about how pathetic Luffy is.
Yeah. Yes. And then Luffy, I don't think he interrupts him. He just like in a pause, he goes, "You say I can't throw a punch," and he pulls up his hand and he cracks his knuckles. And then Bellamy bounces, finally coming in to hit him. And right before Bellamy gets to him, he slams him into the ground, and one punch takes him out and knocks him out.
Yes.
And it's just like instantly, like, and all of his friends who had been like heckling this whole time are like, "Hey, good joke, Bellamy. Get up now." Hey, Bellamy, get up. Bellamy. And like, so then Luffy goes and gets the gold, and then the one dude, I don't remember his name with the glasses.
Zarquis. The big knife guy.
Yeah, big knife. As Luffy's walking out with the gold, he's like, "Hey, you can't take that gold." And Luffy, he's like, "Where do you think you're going?" And Luffy raises his bloody fist up, and he just falls over. And then he turns around and he points up and he goes, "I'm going to the sky."
Like completely deadpan, completely not even understanding that sounds insane. Catherine, what are your thoughts?
This is one of my favorite fights in One Piece because I think it really illustrates Oda's whole like, theoretical base is how I'm going to say that. That's not exactly what I want. His ideology, right, that he's trying to promote through Luffy, which is that you can talk as big as you want and you can feel as powerful as you want, but if you don't have things to fight for, if you don't have dreams that matter to you and companions that matter to you, eventually your strength is going to be meaningless and you're going to encounter someone with a greater will to surpass you.
Yes, I appreciate that we have this fight because early One Piece villains were taken out fairly quickly, I would say. Like Buggy and Captain Morgan were taken out pretty quickly. And then you get a couple of fights where Luffy has to kind of fight and wear down his opponents. Arlong and Crocodile are the two big examples that come to mind. But then you have this fight where it's someone who, I think he's decent as a pirate. He could probably beat up Arlong or Kuro or any of the other previous villains, maybe not Crocodile. And you just have Luffy single punch and you're like, heck yeah. Also, Catherine, you already mentioned that during the fight, Bellamy is calling out, What idiot believes in the Sky Island? And that's my best Raditz impersonation. I don't know his English voice actor's name. But Luffy's eyes slowly get more and more angry, and you can see the shadow falling across his face, and there's just this buildup. There's just this sensation of, something's gonna happen here. And then it happens, you're like, perfect payoff.
I remember the first time we watched this episode, you and I, Joel, and you were super excited. You were like, this is gonna be a great fight, you watch. And I went, okay, I'm prepared. It's gonna be like a crocodile style thing. It's gonna go on for 3 episodes. Luffy's gonna overcome it. No, one punch and he's down. This seemingly big bad boss of the arc taken out immediately.
Yeah.
It was great.
And I love the fact that it goes straight from this, like with maybe a couple scenes in between, to seeing all of these really powerful world players.
Yes.
Like, it just shatters, like, because we start off this arc with like, oh, Bellamy's going to be one of the big bads of this not the arc, but
Saga.
the
Like
saga.
the saga, yeah.
And just boom, no, he's gone. We don't care about him anymore. That is last saga bullshit.
Bellamy, more like bitchamy.
Yeah. It's like, he belongs back in the East Blue. Get back into the sandbox, Bellamy. We got real adult stuff to do.
I have a question that is a joke I'm going to bring back from an earlier episode. How many buggies could Bellamy take on? Or are we now counting things in terms of Bellamy's?
Actually, yeah, no, I think Bellamy's would be a good. So, like, what we do need to figure out how many buggies Bellamy can take on, so that way we have a conversion,
Okay.
right?
I think 1 Bellamy is worth 5 buggies.
How good is Buggy's reflexes? Because here's the thing. If Bellamy does his spring snipe, which is his basic attack, his version of the Gum Gum pistol, basically. If he does that and Buggy is able to do the Bara Bara disconnect and his head flies away, Bellamy's not going to do any damage. Bellamy will probably actually, like, run headfirst into a building and look like an idiot, because that's what he is. But if he's doing his, like, spring hopper attack, I don't know if it's hopper or hooper, but... and you can't see him, I don't think Buggy could do anything.
Well, and I'm imagining Buggy trying that thing where he splits himself into multiple parts, but Bellamy's bouncing all over the place. He's gonna hit all of those parts.
Wait. Not Bellamy, they both have B names. Buggy's head disconnects, Bellamy's bouncing around super fast, he grabs Buggy's head and just keeps bouncing, and Buggy's head is just screaming the entire time.
Would their fusion be called Bugamy?
Yes, and it would really be bugging me, for sure.
I do think, I feel like it has to be more than 5. I think he's like 100. I think 100 buggies. That's a good conversion right there.
Okay.
So 1 Bellamy is what would that be? That's not a...
Is that a Senta
Deca?
Buggy?
No, Senta would be 1/100th, so I think it would...
It's
not kilo.
That's
not
that's
mega.
1,000. Oh crap!
Times 100.
Meter.
What is that called?
The metric system?
Yeah.
You put a word in front of another word.
Oh, a prefix. Please hold while we look up this important information.
Apparently hecto.
He's a hecto buggy. 1 Bellamy is a hecto buggy, or 1 buggy is a millibellamy. A millibellamy. Millibellamy.
That's
Millamy.
That's really cute.
All right. Well, that was some great wordplay. I love it. I'm not being sarcastic. Sometimes I sound sarcastic when I say that I love something.
Oh, wait, no, I'm sorry. Senta Bellamy.
Perfect.
A millibellamy would have been 1,000. I'm sorry. Continue.
Correct. Yes. Everyone, check out how impressive Curtis is with his technical correctness.
Look at me. I'm British. I use the metric system and drink tea.
I'm just saying, I gotta stand up for my engineering bona fides here.
Absolutely. The fact that you use the word bona fides, I think, proves that...
Is it really fetus? I always thought it was
fetus. Fetus.
Fidus.
Fida.
Bona fide, bona fide, bona fide.
Oh, I always thought it was bona fides. Anyway,
it might
matter.
be. I might have said it wrong. It doesn't matter. Continue, Joel. You were saying something.
This is a very important point. Okay, so sometimes I look at you, I've stopped doing this as much, but did anything feel like foreshadowing? I am directly telling you and confirming Bellamy saying, do you know how to throw a punch? Luffy cracking his knuckles, do I know how to throw a punch? Bam. Please remember that. That will be important. I'm not joking. Sometimes I throw out the number 400 and that's a fake number. 700 episodes, you will get that line of dialogue again. Okay. And it is my favorite callback in all of One Piece.
Here's what I want.
So far. There's probably going to be something even better eventually.
Here's what I want, okay? Mm-hmm. I want this callback to be Bellamy coming back. He's much stronger now. And Bellamy now, he just beat up a bunch of Luffy's friends.
Okay.
Luffy's pissed off. And Bellamy comes at him. No, he starts going after Bellamy, right? And Bellamy can't get a punch in. Luffy just over and over says, do you even know how to throw a punch? Do you even know how to throw a punch? And he just keeps hitting him over and over.
No, see, now I'm imagining, like you see in superhero stuff, I think is the most common place where you see it. But Luffy grabbing Bellamy by, like, the collar and, like, just pushing him, like, through walls as he's like, do you know how to throw a punch? Do you know?
So, spoilers, listeners, but Joel already kind of hinted at the fact that we see Bellamy again. He talked during the episode about how seeing his old design is weird if you know what he looks like in modern times. I'm curious, what context do you think he comes back in? Is he a friend? Is he a foe?
He mops the floors on a ship. I think he's been humbled. He's so crushed. Like he has no self-confidence at all anymore.
We already know. Well, actually, we don't technically already know. You will eventually meet pirates who are like, it's stupid to dream. I dreamed once, and look what happened to me. And so now we've finally gotten the first person that Luffy did that to someone else. Bellamy's like, I dreamed of being a big, strong... I'll never amount to anything so long as Luffy's out there. Also, hang on. Would you say that if Luffy did major damage to Bellamy, he had a fist imprint on his face, and he recovered from that quickly, would you say that he sprang back? Yuck.
That's a good joke. What were you going to say, Curtis?
No, I was going to say another way he could come back is if he came back as like something the complete opposite of what he does now, like a priest. He's like, no, if you can't see something, it's not real. And then and also I hate everybody and I'm really violent and mean. And then he comes back as like, yes, please, let me tell you about my Lord and Savior.
You convinced me that my violent ways were wrong. I love the idea of every person Luffy beats joining the Marines in hopes that they someday will get the chance to arrest Luffy. I like the idea of a Marine cohort, whatever you call a group of them, solely made up of former criminals trying to get him.
Comic book term is cabal. The Marine cabal of previous One Piece villains.
They would be the pirate squad.
Yeah, there you go. Okay, I think that's just about everything that has to do with these episodes. I also want to point out, Luffy punched Bellamy one punch and then he ran off. Zarquis afterwards is like, we gotta like look out for ourselves, we gotta protect our reputation, so Blackbeard walks through, and Zarquis says something about like, don't pay him any, and Blackbeard just grabs him by the back of the head and slams him to the ground. Watch out. This guy is also dangerous.
And it's great because he was the other person they just kind of scoffed at, right? It's like that drunkard out in the street who also believes in dreams. And like now, like it just all these people who are out there believing in dreams now beating the crap out of these guys.
Wait. Bellamy comes back as a scientist. I mean, he already is a scientist a little, or he said something about, if you can't see it, it must not exist. He comes back as a person who tries to understand the connection between dreams and power. He's got like a blackboard, and there's like, he has some equations on the left, and he has a big question mark in the middle, and then on the right is Luffy with like these swole biceps. And he's just looking at it, like scratching his chin with like a lab coat on.
That would make a great cover story. Can we send Oda a request?
Yes.
So I think we definitely still want to talk about the world government stuff and all of that.
Mm-hmm.
And we should also talk about the knock-up stream and some more details on that stuff. So which would you like to talk about first, Joel? Or if you have more, too. If there's something else we should touch on.
I think it's good to keep these less than 2 hours long. So, Catherine, can you tell me what you thought of the Going Merry flying model? How great is that design?
It's so good. So, the really interesting thing about this that I don't think a lot of people pick up on before it's explicitly pointed out is we've had a ton of scenes now of the Going Merry quote-unquote flying. Mm-hmm. And I think someday, end game, they're either going to have a ship that can straight up fly, or there will be rumors that the king of the pirates, Monkey D. Luffy, had a flying ship that soared through the skies.
It fits so perfectly with the theme of One Piece that, like, when we went back, and I think Arlong Park might have been one of the first places where I saw it, I was like, Joel, you idiot. Like, this is a show about pursuing your dreams and believing in the fantastical, this treasure that doesn't exist, the Sky Island that doesn't exist. You believe in the power of hopes and dreams of the people. How is flying ship not the most fantastical thing you could possibly ever have?
Yes. And the fact that they just put a rooster costume on it because it could fly made it even better. Zoro's deadpan chickens can't fly, which they can, by the way. I just want to make that clear.
Yeah, farmers clip their wings so that they don't escape and stuff.
Or they make them too fat.
Yeah.
Oh.
But
I learned something new today.
Factory farm is a nightmare.
I loved Zoro just like, a pigeon would have been better. That's the Going Merry, don't you dare.
Why not a seagull?
Seagull is the symbol of the Marines. I don't think they've gone into that, but their flag definitely has the wings or whatever.
That's
okay.
True.
So this knock-up stream exists, and Bellamy would have definitely loved the explanation we got. The gas builds up and the steam and the pressure, and then that creates some airwaves. And then Mont Blanc Cricket just looks at the screen and goes, we don't really care about that, do we? We just care about the fact that this thing happens, and it's a phenomenon, and it's amazing. And it's like, oh, we got the Bellamy and the Luffy comparison right here,
yeah.
The two explanations.
Joel, you asked a couple of times, how are they going to get down? And I would love to hear your guys' thoughts. Like, they got up on a knock-up stream. Is there a knock-down stream that won't destroy their ship?
The knock-down stream is Luffy's fist. And Bellamy already wrote that directly into the Mary Poppins-style umbrellas. And they just get thousands of these things all tied by strings to their ship.
Honestly, they're gonna fall. I think they're just gonna fall down, and how they get down without getting like hurt or breaking their ship, I don't know, but they're just gonna fall.
New Straw Hat combo attack, ultimate shockwave attack, and it somehow involves all seven. Sorry, Robin's on the crew now. All seven of them attacking at once, and they do that at the last possible second, and it creates like a brief air brake type of system.
Fantastic. I think we have had a ton of scenes of Usopp talking about how the ship is falling apart, so maybe it'll just break up in Sky Island. Maybe they'll leave it there, they'll glide down on fancy Sky Island gliders and jack somebody else's ship to get to the next island.
They paraglide to the next island, they land and they're like, alright guys, good landing, I'm glad we didn't lose anyone, and they look around, where's Zoro? And then it just like shows Zoro like soaring over the Marine headquarters, like, oh, this isn't good.
This wasn't the meeting place.
Yeah.
Also the cloud. We should talk about the cloud.
Yeah.
So there's like a cloud that is a super dense cloud.
Cumuloregalis.
Yes. And it's so dense that it blocks out the sun like more than a normal cloud would, to the point where midday looks like midnight. Mm-hmm. And we've seen it once before. It happened at the beginning of this arc.
Yes.
And quick tangent.
You loved this part of the episode.
So it happens earlier, and when it happens, we see these giants like with spears in that. And we're like, what the heck are those things?
Eldritch gods.
Probably. And then so they mention it to Cricket. They're like, oh yeah, we saw this cloud once. Also, there were these giant shadows. What the heck was that? And he goes, oh yeah, the giants. We don't really need to talk about those. Let's move on to something else. And it's like, no, don't move on. I want to know about these giants. What are you talking about? You clearly know.
Not to bring up this tangent too many times, I'm super hardcore into Kingdom Hearts right now. There's a YouTube video called A Good Enough Summary of Kingdom Hearts. It's by Barry. I don't know his last name. Might be Kramer. Anyways, there's an ongoing joke where why does Mickey not have a shirt at the end of Kingdom Hearts 1? And Mickey, in the middle of a dialogue scene in this bridge summary parody, goes, "We'll get to that." And I feel like that's what Cricket did. Cricket's like, yeah, there are these giants in the sky, and then also the black cloud. We'll get to the giants, but first the clouds.
Yep.
Bless you for finding yet another way to include Kingdom Hearts in our One Piece podcast.
I mean, it's just gonna happen.
But the cloud is supposedly like the sea in the
dense.
sky. Yeah. So you could sail on top of the cloud.
Right.
Which bit problematic, but I'm slowly accepting the fact this is a fantasy, even though that they randomly decide they want to have like logical reasoning behind stuff. It's like One Piece has this weird logic to it where they try to come up with half-assed logic for something. They're like, oh yeah, the reverse mountain has these streams, and they all go up here, and they have to come down on the other side. And it's like, no, it doesn't. Okay, I guess. Or like the
knock-up stream.
Yeah, thank you. The knock-up stream has like this explanation that's still kind of like, okay, but I don't think that would cause this giant 1 minute long geyser with an airflow around it going like way into the sky. But it's like it's half an explanation, and then the rest of it's magic.
I'm going to introduce you to a delightful concept we call suspension of disbelief.
I know what I'm saying.
They have given enough of an explanation that I can go, yeah, okay, that's fine.
I know, but that's my point. Is like the fact that they could have just said magic, but they don't. They say a little bit of science, then magic.
See, if they had just been like, it's magic, deal with it, I probably would be less able to deal with it. But that's just how I enjoy
Oh man,
media.
imagine putting magic crystals in Nami's climate act so it enhances the weather powers. Yeah, I do think it's interesting. They also mentioned something about it's basically fossilized clouds. I kind of like that. I like that as a pseudo explanation. They don't need to explain the exact molecules, because if they gave an exact explanation, then wouldn't that mean that there wouldn't be any mystery to One Piece, and part of it is that they're discovering these things that some people believe don't exist.
Yeah, and I think while it would be nice to have some sort of internal logic system to that would like piece this world together, I think it's probably better this way. Like you said, it kind of fits with the mystery and like the fantastical nature of the story and the world, and also because this is almost supposed to be like a storybook, right? Like you're reading this story about the Pirate King and how he became the Pirate King and all that, and his adventures along the way, and it's supposed to be like out there and weird and zany, because it's like back during the golden age of piracy in the real world, or I guess the age of discovery, I would say, like, sailors coming back and telling these stories about like this fantastical stuff they saw.
Real quick fun fact, the original discoverers of the kangaroos thought that they were demons, because they thought that the Joey, the baby in the pouch, was attached, and so they thought they were these horrific creatures with two heads, and they're like, that doesn't make any sense, we gotta get out of here.
They went home and told people about kangaroos, and people were like, you're making that up, those aren't real.
There's no way.
I wish we lived in a world where we could say things like, kangaroos aren't real.
Oh wait, it wasn't the kangaroo. No, it's not the toucan. The platypus. When Europeans brought the platypus back, people were like looking for stitch marks because they thought they had stitched the duckbill onto a beaver, and they were like, "No, this can't be a thing. Where you guys are really good at making these fake. I don't see it."
Oh gosh.
Oh man. All right, guys. I love the Sky Island talk. I love the talk of the fossilized clouds. I love the talk about Bellamy getting punched. I can rewatch that scene so many times. It's honestly better than some of the long drawn-out climaxes, even though I like it when Luffy earns his victories, but sometimes it's nice just to see someone who talks big just get pounded into the ground. You're not even worth my time. But we have to get to today's sponsor. Today's sponsor is a special movie that is releasing this year, later this summer? Yeah, this late summer, early fall, that's when you can expect it to come out. It doesn't have an exact release date.
It's also known as the Small. Small.
So let me just read the synopsis here. This is Pizza, the movie. When a group of unlikely people have to band together in order to take down the evil organization Healthy Salad, there's only one way that they can do it. They're gonna have to combine the expertise of Dr. Sauce, Professor Cheese, Mr. Crust, and of course, Ms. Toppings.
And watch out, things are gonna get saucy, granting it that R rating.
And be careful, some of the jokes can be rather cheesy. So come watch these colorful, wonderful characters coming together. They each have their own specialties and they have to learn how to work together. But maybe there's a dark secret that threatens to tear them apart.
I'm really excited for this movie. Who did you say was starring in it?
Brad Pitt is starring as the Sauce, of course. Naturally, who else would you think of for that?
I heard Dwayne The Rock Johnson was going to be the Crust.
Yes, absolutely. Wouldn't it have been funny if we had picked like an old actor like Harrison Ford as the Crust because he's so crusty?
No, I actually heard that Harrison Ford is going to be the cheese.
Okay, there we go. Perfect. And you know, I've heard that there's an exciting rumor about a potential after credit scene where it would in fact cross over with Detective Lasagna, I think is what I called it. I can't remember.
Your pasta movie.
Not my pasta movie. It was a movie directed by Goof McShoots, if I remember my canon correctly.
I'm sorry, everyone. I call it Joel's pasta movie because he just loves it so much. We're actually considering a second podcast just about that series.
Yeah, absolutely. And I have all of the posters. I've got it signed by Mr. McShoots himself.
Joel, he told you. Call him Goof.
I'm sorry, my dad was McShoots.
You know, I heard that they're already planning on a sequel.
Yes.
Yeah, the sequel is about it's actually kind of a semi-horror.
Oh, okay.
And it's about a guy who is really into calzones, and so he traps the pizza people, right? And they get folded. The reality folds in on itself, right?
Okay.
And they get trapped in this bubble dimension.
Okay.
Is calzone just a bizarre form of pizzavore? You can edit that out.
No, that needs to stay in.
All right, and that's been. I think you know everything that you need to know to go check out this movie. It's going to be in theaters later this year. Check it out. Let us know what you think on Twitter. Now it's time to discuss the real meat and potatoes of these. I can't stop saying that phrase. I can't think of a synonym for it.
The real broth and carrots.
The real crust and sauce.
Okay, we talked about a lot of really good surface level stuff. We talk a lot about exciting stuff. Really quick. I'm such a dunce. Curtis, are you excited for Sky Island?
I am excited for Sky Island, unless if it's not there.
Wait,
I'm kind of like, so part of me is like, oh yeah, we'll definitely have a Sky Island. It's gonna be there. And then another part of me is like, what if this is all a lead up and they get above the cloud and it's like the next episode, we're here. Oh shit, it's just a normal cloud and they just fall down.
Maybe it'll be like a ghost town, like there was something up there, but everyone is dead and gone, and there's like broken pieces of ships everywhere, and they fight a ghost.
Okay, question.
Answer.
Do the Marines know about Sky Islands? If Luffy were to somehow get trapped on Sky Island for a decade, because maybe there isn't a way to get down without destroying the ship, and so they have to figure it out or something, what would the Marines do? Just like, oh yeah, that idiot tried to launch himself into the sky and we haven't seen him since. I think that they're, like, I don't know. Do the Marines know about Sky Island? It's so exciting.
It probably depends on the Marine. Like, I could see Garp believing in Sky Island, but Sengoku maybe not. He seems a little more serious, even though he has a seagull on his head and a goat by his side.
We need to talk about Sengoku, but we're not there yet, god dang it! Let's talk about the most exciting crew that we've ever met in the One Piece world. What are your impressions of Blackbeard now that we know that we can actually call him that?
Well, I'm disappointed he's not going to be delivering any gifts to children. He's not the Pirate Santa. I'm sad.
I mean, he could be. Maybe he moonlights as Pirate Santa.
Well, he better, because apparently he's a really crappy bounty hunter. I thought their ship was interesting. Their ship was a bunch of giant logs, and they kind of like hollowed some sections out for cannons, and they strapped them together and put a sail on it. So it looked like a giant raft, which is why it fell apart immediately when the water got rough.
Oh, Okay, so sometimes for this podcast, we get excited about stuff, and I try to ask, like, oh, what did you think about Usopp's left toe in this episode? And you're like, Joel, that wasn't very important. I'm like, we gotta talk about an hour for this stuff. Blackbeard could have his own podcast where I just fanfic about him, and like, what about this scene where he ate 50 pies and Luffy didn't like the pies? And what about this scene? Luffy and his crew are bright and colorful. You have a dude who uses 3 swords, which is weird because humans can only carry 2. You've got a dude with a really long nose who's apparently an excellent sniper. Like, Luffy's crew is this bright collection of colorful people. The Buggy Pirates were bright and colorful in their own kind of bombastic way. The Kuro Pirates were just a bunch of people who had cat ears. That's not really that. Don Krieg just had a bunch of cutthroat pirates that wanted to kill you. The Broke Works people kind of had an aesthetic, but like, we've only had a couple of really bright, colorful, cartoon-like crews, and Blackbeard's fits the bill. We have 5 members. We have a mime, a tap-dancing mime. We have Blackbeard himself, who... Actually, I wouldn't say there's actually that much weird about him so far, but, you know, he looks like an evil Santa.
But it's kind of like Luffy, too, right? There's not really that much weird about Luffy, except for his gum-gum ability.
And his personality, I would say, too.
Well, yeah, but, like, even, like, Blackbeard's personality is a little bit odd. Like, he's not the most normal person, but, like, aesthetically, both of them are kind of like, yeah.
Yeah, but then you have a Mexican luchador... And you have this sick guy who hands out exploding apples.
And has a dying horse.
Named Stronger, which is the best name for a horse.
Wait, what's the name of the horse?
Stronger. And then you have Von Augur. I don't know why I didn't give him a description based off of his... But he has a gun that's literally as tall as him. I cannot stress that enough. He is... canonically 11 feet tall. I'm not making that up. And his gun is as tall as he is, and he has such good marksman abilities that Usopp is like, there's no way that someone shot that bird. There's absolutely no way that that's possible. It is possible. So Blackbeard's crew is just amazing. We got a name for all of them, and now we found out why there were so many random characters in the last set of episodes we watched. Because they were all there with Blackbeard, they just kind of split up the way that Luffy's crew does.
Oh, what if... Are you saying this is like mirror universe Luffy Straw Hats?
Let's look at what we know. Let's just forget that there's more after this. Let's say that these are the most recently released episodes ever. He has a weird ship and it like breaks apart and he seems to be kind of going off by the seat of his pants, like Luffy. His name is Marshal, and I need to stress this, D. Teach. He has a bunch of weirdo for crew members. He and Luffy both believe in dreams, but also they go to a bar and Blackbeard loves, I think he liked the pie, I can't remember.
He liked the pie, Luffy liked the
pie, Luffy's like, the pies are disgusting. Luffy's like, this ale is great, and Blackbeard's like, this ale is disgusting. He is absolutely what would happen if, I think, we don't have confirmation of this, but I think he's what if Luffy didn't believe in dreams, or what if he didn't believe in other people helping him achieve his dreams. I think he's very individualistic, like, if you can't serve me, I'll snap your neck and just move on to the next one.
Because Blackbeard definitely believes in dreams. Like, he straight up said when he showed up, the time will come where pirates no longer dream. Ridiculous!
Yeah, and we need more time to talk to learn about the rest of the characters, I think. Because, we got a little bit about them briefly, but we haven't had much yet.
Our favorite tap-dancing mime showed up to the world government meeting to try to pitch Blackbeard as the next 7 Warlord.
He's the goddamn, what's it called? He's the PR person. He's the publicist for Blackbeard.
And they were like, why would we possibly pick somebody with a 0 berry bounty? Curtis, what do you think the reasoning is going to be?
I'm not sure. They're clearly he has a plan to do something to put him on the world stage, and it's not capturing Luffy. That was he clearly had something else going on. He was like, oh, well, these guys have a big bounty. I can't pass that up, so I'm going to go do this first, and then I'll do my plan.
It could just be that he's a D. Maybe most of the Ds haven't explicitly told the government, because we haven't met a 7th Warlord who's a D yet.
Yeah, I mean, that could be it. Like, I think if I remember right, Lafitte said something about, like, he implied that something was about to happen that would prove it, right?
Yeah,
that it would be worthy.
I believe, as close as I can remember to a perfect quote, was he hasn't done much yet, but he will make a name for himself. So he hasn't done anything yet, but something's on the horizon, and he's telling the Marines, like, you can get on it, you can capitalize on this, or you can wait and follow the trend.
Yeah.
I am eager to see more of Blackbeard.
Yes, I agree.
Are you ready for some fun tidbits about the Blackbeard pirates, and also an explanation on what the Viver cards are in real life?
Sure.
Okay. That was a loaded question. You only had one way to answer. I did, in fact, have a blow dart aimed at your throat as I was asking. So in Japan right now, they're releasing these things called Viver cards, which I think we have already confirmed in the anime. I won't say any more in case I'm wrong, because I need to look that up. But they're releasing these cards, and they're collectibles. And they're releasing them by season, but not in chronological. So they recently released a set of booster packs for the Sky Island Saga, the one that we're currently in the middle of. And these will have things like, what is Nami's favorite food? What is Sanji's birthday? What is Chopper's blood type? And a lot of this information is stuff we already knew, but it's all canon. Here's your confirmation. Here's your encyclopedia of knowledge. And because this is where Blackbeard and his crew first showed up, there's a lot of information about them. So here's some fun tidbits. Van Augur, the sniper, his nickname, his epithet is Supersonic. Jesus Burgess, the luchador guy, his nickname is The Champion. Doc Q, the sick guy, is known as The Reaper, or The Shinigami. And Lafitte is known as the Demon Sheriff. We actually got like one sentence of explanation that he used to be a law-abiding chief, and then some bloody stuff happened and he got removed from his rank. He was no longer allowed to be a sheriff anymore.
Okay.
Van Augur's gun is called Senriku, which translates to 1,000 lands. I don't know. Lands like physical domain, not lambs. Lands.
Yeah. It could be a reference to how far you can shoot.
It could be.
Like maybe not all of it gets caught in the translation, but like maybe it's an implication of like distance.
Okay. Van Augur, the sniper, is also from the East Blue, where we've met Yasopp and Daddy Masterson and Usopp, who are all known marksmen.
Huh.
His bounty Zoro's bounty is 60 million, Luffy's is 100, Bellamy is 55, Arlong was 20. Just guess where Van Augur is on that scale.
250.
He is 64 million.
Oh.
Just a little tiny bit more than Zoro. Lafitte, the mime guy, who we know very little about, he tap dances. He is canonically 11 feet tall and 2 inches at this point in canon. Some characters grow taller, like if you see them between two different arcs or whatever. And his bounty is 42.2 million. A little bit higher than Luffy's original bounty, but lower than where they are now.
Mm-hmm.
Doc Q, the sick guy, is 26 years old, even though he looks like he's 73, because he has some sickness, and that causes him to be really frail.
He is not 28, for real?
Yeah.
That's crazy.
He might be, I think he might actually be 26. I might have misread his Viver card. He's young.
Dang.
His bounty, 72 million, which is the highest of any of Blackbeard's crew right now that we know of. And he is 11 feet tall, 3 inches. I assume when he's standing tall and not over his horse, not dying. And Burgess is the tallest at 11 feet, 8 inches.
And these are all just people.
These are people. Here's a fun thing for you, Curtis. In the world of One Piece, humans are not confined to the limits of humans in the real world. Dr. Greao is, 130 or 140? Somewhere in that range. And that's perfectly normal. Humans can live to be like 150 if they eat right and all that stuff.
She was 138.
Thank you. And humans can grow to be giant. We saw Whitebeard. We'll talk about him in a second. He's also human. He has no giant blood in him. It's just if you drink your milk and do a lot of push-ups, sometimes you grow taller, but Luffy does a lot of push-ups and drinks his milk, but he's not tall. I don't know about that.
How tall was Whitebeard?
I do not know off the top of my head.
He looked like to be at least 50 feet tall or something.
He's giant. Well, not giant. Giants can be something like 300 meters tall or something ridiculous like that. So that's just a thing to keep in mind. If you see someone who's like that, it's not guaranteed that they're a giant. It could just be that they know the secret bulk up formula. They run their high school wrestling team. Mm-hmm. Do I have any other pieces of information on this list? No, I do not. What do you expect from the character whose name is Blackbeard, who apparently has some plan and seems to believe in dreams and stuff? Like, where do you expect him to show up later in canon?
I mean, soon.
Okay.
Probably not Sky Island.
He didn't even know that Sky Island existed. They're like, where are they going? He's like, I don't know, maybe Sky Island. And that's the only reason that Luffy was able to escape without a fight.
Yeah.
Because of the...
I would assume immediately after Sky Island, we'll see Blackbeard again.
Okay.
Very quickly. I think he's going to come back because, one, he's going to be pissed off. He's going to want to get Luffy now. Mm-hmm. Like, not just for the bounty, but for, like, I'm going to get you now because I've tried and I failed once. I'm not going to fail again.
Gotcha.
He's probably going to come back with Team Rocket, and Team Rocket's going to be after Pikachu, who have teamed up with Luffy, and then Blackbeard's going to be going after... Sorry.
No, don't apologize. That's just an ongoing bit that we do now.
Wait, our reference joke is in fact a reference joke to ourselves. Alright, so you see Blackbeard as a future threat fairly soon. You said after Sky Island because he didn't seem to figure out how to go up after them.
Yeah, he missed the boat. In fact, he lost his boat. Wait. He's missing his boat. There we go.
Perfect. Do you see him being like a super dangerous threat, more stronger than Crocodile? Or is he kind of like a goofy threat?
I think he's going to be dangerous because he's so Luffy-like and because we have no sense of what his power level is right now. He does not have a bounty. That does not mean he's not bounty worthy.
Yes, he's unknown, I think is the exact words. I think we've used different terms to describe him. I just want to say that canonically all we know is that Sengoku doesn't know him.
Yes.
Which I think is a perfect segue. I love the fact that we get the name drop of this person that Luffy has met at the same time that you get the Warlord stuff, at the same time that you get Shanks and Whitebeard. Like, all of these things are interconnected. In One Piece, no single plot thread is on its own. They're always connected to something else in some way. And so you get all of these kind of worlds colliding for a brief, beautiful moment. I'm going to go over the list of all the people that we met, as I did with Blackbeard's crew, but for the Marines now and all this other stuff. We get Mihawk coming back. He shows up at the end of an episode, and Curtis and Catherine and I all went, who is that? Why is he back? Where's he going? You get the mention of Shanks, who we already knew, but we're like, okay, what's going on with him? You find out that Shanks has a crew member named Rockstar, who's a new member of Shanks' crew, and his bounty is 96 million, so he's just below Luffy in terms of bounty. We meet these groups of people called the Five Elder Stars, who are the highest authority in Marie Joy, which is the capital of the world, basically. I don't know exactly what it's called, but it's like the highest authority you can have, Five Elder Stars. Fleet Admiral Sengoku, which is the highest ranking admiral we've ever met, and an old grandma lady named Vice Admiral Suru, the great tactician. She has no speaking lines. She is going to be hecka important later in the series, I guarantee it. She and Garp are the two oldest members of the Marines that we've met, and I'm pretty sure that they're going to be the ones that are like, back in my day when Gold D. Roger was running around, they're going to be the ones who know all of that stuff. They're going to be the historians that can give viewpoints on why something is important. And then we also meet two other members of the Warlords, Don Quixote, formerly at 340 million, 3 times as high as Luffy, and Bartholomew Kuma, 296 million before his bounty was frozen. We also see that Kuma was reading the Bible, which is interesting to me because that implies Jesus. religion can sometimes have things that seem kind of fantastical to modern sensibilities. If you were to have a character show up in One Piece who proclaim themselves to be an angel, you'd go, okay, that's a mythical creature from religious texts, but I put it in the same group as unicorns and dragons. But Bible is more specific and concrete and has an actual physical person. And I'm wondering if we're going to meet... And I mean, Blackbeard's luchador guy is named Jesus, so he's probably named after... There's a Jesus in One Piece, guys. I'm so excited to meet him.
What kind of devil fruit does he have?
Yeah. The no sin, no me.
The revive, no me. He
but it
can
only
die
works
once. Yeah.
Takes 3 days to kick in. And then we also... we have a scene of Doflamingo. And Catherine, you're not going to make it any secret your love of Doflamingo, are you?
Doffy is a bae.
Okay.
He and Crocodile are up there with Smoker as my favorites.
Curtis and listeners, if you're unfamiliar, anytime we say the word Doffy, that's a cute pet nickname for Doflamingo Don Quixote. It's just a nickname for him. And then sometimes I will occasionally call Crocodile Croco-san or Croco-boy, which is another kind of nickname. We use Doffy way more than the other nicknames.
What about Smoker? Is he Smoky?
Yes.
Sometimes.
Luffy calls him Smokey sometimes.
But we, in real life, being only partial weebs, we haven't undergone our full evolution. I think Doffy's the only one that we regularly refer to by their nickname.
Yes.
Can you tell us the scene that I'm thinking of that had Doffy with the two Marines and one of them started choking the other one?
So the Marines are hanging out, right? And they're talking about, oh, I wonder how many Warlords will show up. And one of them just spins around and starts choking this other guy. And he goes, what are you doing? And he goes, I'm not doing it. I can't stop. And somebody looks around and they're like, you're doing this, aren't you? Cut it out, Doflamingo. And he's like, well, I was bored. Why aren't we starting yet? He didn't even tell them he was there.
Yeah, he was impatient for the meeting to start, and I guess he must have, like, Curtis, you're a newbie to the series. What was going on in that scene? Sorry, you're a novice. I didn't mean to mistitle you. The disrespect.
I worked hard for this rank.
I sat through 140 episodes of anime pirates.
I was only 2 days from retirement. I think, he has something that lets him control people.
Okay.
Devil fruit or something else?
It could go either way. We've seen both. Have we seen both?
That's a good question.
We've seen non-devil fruit means of controlling people that were canon.
Like Miss
That's
Golden
true.
Week.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm. And hypnosis. We've seen that from Django as well.
So I don't know. It could go either way.
So folks who are listening to King of the What Now, I do need to give a peek behind the curtain. We've been giving a lot of peeks behind the curtain. We should start charging for that. But
that sounds wrong.
I think at that point we're in the pornography business instead of the podcasting business.
I said curtain, not skirts. Okay.
Well, and also, I mean, is it pornography if it's like a live performance? I think it's like a burlesque show at that point, or strip.
Focus. Curtis has some foreknowledge, and we don't bring it up a lot because honestly, part of the appeal that we're going for is we hope that you can join us at the beginning of the adventure and relive or see it for the first time. Unfortunately, we cannot ask Curtis to speculate on Doffy's status because Catherine has such a huge crush on him, and we really like the arc that he eventually shows up in, that Curtis knows just a little tiny bit more than we're letting on. If you're new to the series, he's absolutely great. You're not going to see him for a very long time, but he's an interesting character, I'll say that at least.
So
he has glasses.
He showed up when I was doing my first watch through the series, and I fell immediately in love with him. I was like, this is the most amazing character ever. I was looking up fan art. One of my friends who likes One Piece and was on Tumblr, I sent her a message, and I was like, I just met this character, and he was amazing. And the anime/manga had just gotten to the part where he shows back up, and she went, no, you don't. And I was like, what? Yes, I do. And so eventually I got there, and I went, I do still love him. He did nothing wrong. And so my meme is Doffy did nothing wrong.
Yes. Just to whet your appetite for, again, I cannot stress this, literally 600 episodes from now, his epithet, Straw Hat Luffy, red-haired Shanks, Blackbeard, his epithet was Demon Angel,
It was
I
the
believe.
heavenly demon.
There you go. And so it's like, what's going on with that? I have no idea. Kuma, the man with the Bible, the very quiet one who has not had a single speaking line yet, his is...
Talk, you make talk face?
Yeah, that's exactly it. He was Lord Jibber Jabber. No, what was he called? He was the Tyrant. Is what his nickname was.
That's an interesting one.
Isn't it? It's so good. And now we've officially met 3/4 of the 6/7 Warlords of the Sea.
3/4 of the 6/7. I like that.
You know what I mean? We met the 7th who got kicked out, but we've now met 3 current members of the Shichibukai. 2 of them are very quiet and reserved, and one of them is Flamboyant McFlamepants.
I wish that Crocodile had been able to be a part of this scene, like he hadn't been defeated and hauled off to jail, because I want to see his interactions with Mr. Look at me! I can do whatever I want! Puppet stuff.
Crocodile was also a very reserved, not talkative person, so in order to join the Shichibukai, you have to be, really quiet. You have to sit in the back and just let other people talk.
Unless you are a beautiful man with a big pink boa, in which case, I guess, do what you want.
Ah, man. Okay, so we've talked a long time on this episode. We are going to record another episode today, so we're running out of time. Did you have any kind of impression of the 6 high-ranking Marine people that we met? There's Sengoku, the Fleet Admiral, and then there's the 5 Elder Stars.
Not really.
Okay.
I'm actually a little bit confused about the power structure.
Uh-huh.
They make a comment about, the 3 pillars of the world government.
Yep.
And I know we have the Marines, and I know we have the 7 Warlords.
Mm-hmm.
At first I thought that the 5 people talking were the 3rd pillar.
Mm-hmm.
But it was hard to tell if they were part of the Marines or if they were a separate entity.
Yep. When I was reading through this, when I was reading and watching through this, and I got to this scene, I was kind of like, what is going on? We are going to get to the end of the Sky Island Saga. I can now reveal to you that that's the title because we now know confirmation that they're going to try to get to the Sky Island.
Try.
You were not certain if they're going to make it.
I know.
Okay, but we get to the end of the Sky Island Saga. Nothing. We get to the end of the next saga. At the end of the next saga, they look at the camera and they go, hey, here's 2 really tiny bits of world building that are majorly important. And you go, oh shit, that's the full picture we're looking at? There are unicorns in One Piece and Luffy's a descendant of the vampires? It's so obvious! That's what the D stands for, is vampire. It makes more sense in translation before you translate in the original Japanese.
Dampire.
Yeah. Okay, but anyways, you will find out about the 3rd pillar eventually. It is not the 5 Elder Stars. They are... I would group them in with the Marines if I were to group them anywhere. They are really flippin' fascinating, and keep your eye on them. There's something interesting about them that you might notice if you're paying attention, which I know you and I won't.
Curtis, I'm going to throw some quick weeb knowledge at you in case anyone at a convention tries to test whether or not you're a true fan. They're also called the Gorosei.
The Gorosei.
Yes.
The Gorosei.
We watched it in English, which doesn't call them that, but that's what they're called in Japanese, the Gorosei.
Do they, rip people's arms off or something? Is it very gory?
That's a culturally insensitive joke. You're making fun of someone else's language. He's just staring at me blankly. He doesn't know what to do with that.
It was a pun!
Luffy doesn't know... Curtis doesn't want to live in a world without puns. If puns are going to be racially insensitive...
I'm sorry.
We here on King of the What Now do not mean to offend anyone. We hope that you understand that we're having fun. Even Catherine poking fun or telling us off is part of the fun.
Yes, I don't actually think you're culturally insensitive, Curtis. I just didn't know what else to do with your joke.
Feel free to make fun of my language and your language, however you see fit.
English is a crazy language. English is like the devil fruit of languages. It doesn't make any sense, and it can do whatever it wants, and you just kind of have to deal.
Okay. One really quick note about the 5 Elder Stars. We have no way of referring to them. They don't have names individually as far as we know. There's a bald guy with a sword. There's a younger looking guy with a beard. There's a fatter guy with a big mustache and a wine stain. Is that what they call those birthmarks?
Some people
wine
call
marks
them
or whatever. And then there's 2 other guys who I can't recall right now off the top of my head, because they only show up and they go habita exposition habita, and they don't have distinct personalities. There's just 5 of them. They sit in a room and they talk to each other about how great they are. They're like, we're great, everyone else sucks. That Luffy guy, he sucks. The Shichibukai, they're stupid.
They suck.
The King of Alabasta, he sucks. It's Sandy. We don't go there. We sit in our little room and we drink our tea and we talk about bad things.
I want to see them do something.
Yep. We're still waiting for that. You could skip to the episode that just came out last week and you'd be like, wow, they still haven't done anything. They sure do exposit a lot.
Have they drank more tea?
Yeah.
I think in between this episode we just watched and where we are currently, we have seen them one other time. Joel says
like 2
3.
or 3. Yep.
Not
I
a
say
lot.
5.
You don't get an
50
opinion,
pies.
novice.
I could say whatever I want. I don't know any better.
But yeah, so really quickly, the organization of the Marines, just so captain's kind of like the lowest rank that matters, I guess. There's even lower ranks, but those are like the fodder. Captains are like the people who start to have individual importance to the story. Smoker, I think, is currently a captain. There's a bunch of other in-between ranks that I know nothing about. Teching 101 on YouTube has done a video describing all these different ranks. Admiral is basically the highest ranking active member, the person who will show up to arrest you. Fleet Admiral is the highest, asterisk, not really, there's another rank higher than him. But anyways, Sengoku is in command of all of the Navy, but he will not show up to arrest you. He stays at Marine headquarters and issues orders to everyone else. The Admirals usually don't go places, but when they do go places, you run like hell. You run as fast and as far as you can, and you do not stop running. And that's about it, I think. Here is a quote from the Gorosei, the 5 Elder Stars. It's too dangerous for Whitebeard and Red Hair to make contact, referring to Edward Newgate and Shanks. Red Hair is formidable only when agitated. He is not the type to change things about the world on his own. I find this incredibly important. Shanks is a big pirate. He could, like, slap Crocodile once, and Crocodile wouldn't get up for a week. And Shanks would be like, think about what you did. And Crocodile would be like, yes, sir, please don't hit me again.
That's with only one arm. Imagine what he can do with 2.
Yeah, exactly. But Shanks is a big, important guy, and as soon as the world found out that he had even sent a single messenger to Whitebeard, they lost their minds. And this goes back to the warning that Buggy gave us, don't mess with the white-haired pirates. He mentioned that when he met Ace, when he met Ace and that sort of thing. The tides of change in history are starting to flow a certain way. Blackbeard and Luffy and Whitebeard and red-haired Shanks are all part of that endgame story that's going to happen eventually.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
Yes.
It's good stuff. This next arc introduces a lot of cool world building and a lot of setup for other cool things, and it's all good.
All right, folks, and I think that has been your final thought. Outro goes here.
Where does it go?
Right there.
Blackbeard's pirate tip of the day. Why spend money on a nice ship when you can just tie a bunch of logs together and put a sail on it and call it a ship?
Brilliant. Ship it tomorrow.
Ship it!
So ends the next leg of the King of the What Now adventure. We're sad to see you go, but we'll be here next week. If you crave some social interaction with us in the meantime, you can find us on all sorts of different media. We have Gmail, Patreon, and Tumblr. All of those are King of the What Pod. King of the What Pod at gmail.com, patreon.com/King of the What Pod, kingofthewhatpod.tumblr.com. Our Twitter handlers are a little bit different. You can reach me at KOTWN_pod.
And you can contact me, Curtis, at Pirate Co-Host. Also, please take a moment to rate and review our podcast on whatever platform you're using to listen. Not only will this help others find the podcast, but your constructive feedback will help us improve the show as we go.
Thanks so much for giving us a listen. Until next time, follow your dreams and protect your treasure.
Remember, it doesn't need to be literal treasure.